I'm sure many of us are in the same boat where, you know, we kind of know it's important, but we have no clue. And this is a really fast-paced presentation. I'm actually glad I get to see it a second time. Maybe some of you stayed from the first one because it went through so fast. And shall I go ahead and introduce you?
Please.
I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. She's trying to work on her presentation, getting it to come together. So Christine Vara works for Every Child by Two. She's their social media coordinator. And she is a strategic communications specialist with 25 years experience, and for the past 5 years she's been managing the Vaccinate Your Baby Facebook page, the Shot of Prevention Twitter account, and the lead contributor for the Every Child by Two Shot of Prevention blog. And she's the mother of 5 children, as she told us this morning, and gives a unique parent's perspective to the online discussion of immunizations, the science behind them, and the concerns that parents have about vaccinations. So, Christine.
Thank you. And I apologize because we're like compressed with time, and I speak really fast. So if you need me to slow down, just be like, whoa, Christine, too fast. I'm really excited to be here. I'm going to dive right in because I kind of lost 15 minutes of presentation time. It doesn't sound like much, but it is, especially when I have so much to cover. So first, I want to just acknowledge that I'm really excited that you're here. I don't know how many of you are already engaging in social media, but by a show of hands, how many of you have social media accounts for your personal self? Okay, great. Wow, that's like almost everybody. How many of you are doing it for your organization, or maybe your organization has some kind of social media presence? Okay, not as many. How many of you cannot, because of the organization you work for, speak publicly through social media? Okay, that's always kind of a little challenge. And we always typically get some of that. Great. How many of you would say on a scale of 1 to 10 that you're under 5 with even understanding what social media is? Under 5. 10 being, I know what I'm doing. How many 10s or near 10? Okay. This is my challenge. Every time I talk about social media, it's such a huge realm, and I mentioned this earlier, is that there's no such thing as a social media expert. So I say that because it's a constantly changing, forum. And so don't be intimidated. That's my biggest thing. My biggest word of advice is don't be intimidated, because you know what? Not everybody knows everything, and the way you learn is by doing. So that is my little pitch for that. We're going to jump right in here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, which you didn't already hear, which you probably did, but just to reiterate, I'm going to speak a lot from the personal experiences I've had in the past 5 years working with Every Child by Two. They're a nonprofit immunization advocacy national program. I write a blog called Shot of Prevention. I write maybe 2 blog posts a week completely about immunizations. I administer the Vaccinate Your Baby Facebook page, and I also manage both the Shot of Prev Twitter accounts and the Every Child by Two Twitter accounts. How many of you follow me right now? A couple, yay, thanks. Nice to see you. and that's the beauty of social media, and kind of the bummer about social media is like you can have some great people that you connect with and never get to see them face to face. So this is a privilege for me. Part of what I want to do today is encourage you and inspire you to actually be engaged in social media. Nearly 90% of parents we know are vaccinating like they should be. But even though they're vaccinating, it doesn't mean they're fully on board. Sometimes there's still a little hesitancy, and we see that in social media. Because, can you see if I'm standing here? I'm like, don't know where to go. I like to move around, I don't want to keep blocking this. So one of the things that we have to do, and we have a responsibility to do, is address a lot of the misinformation that's shared on the internet. And I feel like that's an obligation for me and for you all, your professions. You probably are so engrossed in the immunization world that maybe you don't always consider that you should be talking about that outside of work. And hopefully this will change your mind, because there is a conversation going on out there. It's not pretty, it's not always truthful. Unfortunately, it can be very persuasive. Fear is very persuasive. So we have to recognize that people are out there looking for immunization information, sometimes they're just Googling things, and you'd be shocked. If you ever want to scare yourself, just go and Google something about immunizations and vaccines, and you will find some really startling information. Facebook. We know that 85% of moms and kids are on Facebook every day. We have to acknowledge that it's there, and that people are getting information that way. Twitter and YouTube, a lot of the youth are on these things. These are the parents of tomorrow. Just like with Invisible Threat, we need to get the information out to them now so that later, when they start having children, they're not questioning. They understand the science. If we can lay that foundation, we have that ability to do that because they're all on social media now. So if we can kind of get ahead of the game, that will help us in the future. And family and friends are always, their opinions are very relevant to us, and it's been proven through studies that people are heavily influenced in regards to vaccine decisions based on their social contacts. So we know all this to be true, and like it or not, social media is there. And we want to utilize it to our advantage because it is very informative. It can be conversational. It can encourage a two-way conversation. It's very interactive. So we did a survey which found that most social media organizations realize that it's important to be out there, have a presence on social media. And many of you showed that you do have a presence. 75% it was really important, but a lot of people just really want it to just go away because they're not on it, they don't want it, it's just like another thing they have to deal with. Is that any of you? I see a couple like nods and like, oh yeah, this is me. That's why I'm here. I don't really want to be here, but I kind of think I should know what's going on. So, you know, it's not going away. So here's what might make you feel better. Even though these people know that it's important, only a quarter of immunization professionals that we surveyed at the National Immunization Coalition Conference, which I spoke at in Seattle, even though they know it's important, they're not necessarily there. So I kind of find it like my job to inspire people to just take some action. That's what I'm here for. But these are the challenges. Sometimes we don't have people to work that realm. Is that what a lot of you find? You're public health people, not necessarily communications people. What am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? So that's what we're gonna, how do we get started? That's why I was helping two people here, like, how do I send my first tweet? And I was actually helping them send their first tweet. It was really kind of cool. But that's what I wanna hope to inspire you through this. So we have to optimize our messages and look at social media as a part of the whole big pie of communications. You wouldn't have an organization that never had any other platform to speak with people other than in person. So that's the same thing with Every Child by Two. I'm going to use that as an example, and here's the pie. We have our websites. I'm sure you all have websites, right? You want to make sure that you realize that a website is static. It's good if people are there, but what's going to draw them there? And when things change, like for instance, how many of you have been to the Every Child by Two website? Great. That has a lot of, it's designed for this audience exactly. It has a lot of information on where to get resources, strategies on how to talk about vaccine hesitancy, all the top facts and issues, and we put our blog content on there, which changes. The blog content changes every week, sometimes multiple times a week. We have daily clips. You can actually subscribe to these daily clips, and you will get the 5 top news stories about immunizations in your mailbox every day, and you can just quickly glance at them, and you know what? You will learn so much and stay right on the cutting edge of what's going on with immunizations. I just wrote about the brand new serogroup B meningococcal vaccine that was just approved, and now what is the ACIP going to do? Are they going to recommend it? You might not even know this is happening, but you might need to know this is happening. So this is a great way to kind of stay up to date on the latest news, is by one, following social media first, finding out what's going on. Also on our website, we have this great call to action that says get involved at the top. You can click on that, and then this is our Vaccinate Your Baby website. This is really designed for the parent. So if you have parents you want to direct them somewhere, this would be a good place to send them. It has videos. Paul Offit's featured in a lot of our videos about just the general questions people ask. But we also include our social media widgets. because it's integrated. We want them to follow us on social media, not just come to our website once and then never come back. We want to keep them engaged. So you can go to the Get Involved button and sign up to get those daily clips. You can also sign up to get other action alerts of big news that might be happening if you don't want something every day. So Facebook is probably the easiest way to kind of like test the waters. When you start a Facebook page, you need to realize it's going to take time to build. You're going to have to really kind of engage and reach out to people because nobody's going to just know you created your Facebook page. We have been doing this for about 5 years. We have 80,000 likes, and we have a really high level of engagement on our page. Are any of you following our page now? Thank you. Do you share the content from the page ever? Okay, hopefully you will. So what we have is that we are doing a lot of the work for you. So if you create a Facebook page, it's really important to find your voice. When you are on Facebook, and since most of you say you are on it for personal reasons, you're not wanting to be sold a car, or you want to find out about what's going on with your friends, and maybe you want to get some of their input on news or whatever. So you have to make sure that when you create a Facebook page, you realize that people aren't living and breathing immunizations like we are, okay? So you have to find a very authentic voice, choose your words carefully, and put content on there that they're going to find interesting. That's probably the biggest challenge, because you have to realize that that the content is going to drive the engagement. People like pictures, right? Love looking at Facebook because you see all these pictures. What was this kid for Halloween, and whose child graduated and whatnot. Same thing when you're sending information. The visual imagery, if you can include photos or videos or infographics, those types of content yield 70% more engagement than just a bunch of words. It's sad, but this is kind of the reality of how social media is driven. So you need to know your audience. For instance, if you go on Facebook, there's an analytic part that'll show you who your audience is. And it'll give you a breakdown of their ages and their gender and what cities they're from, okay? Visit that often because one, it changes, and two, it's gonna tell you something about who your audience is. I have 5 kids, I'm in my mid-40s, I have different interests than maybe the majority of my Facebook followers. They're younger, they have little kids, and I have to make sure that the content that I'm providing to them is appropriate for them, not just because I want to share it, but who I'm sharing it with. This is a lot of basics about Facebook. I don't want to read each thing, but know it's here because you can all go back to this presentation. It's online through Prezi, so I'll give you that information. But what's important to know about Facebook is your message life. Your message life on Facebook, if you think about your personal news feed, do you ever wonder like, oh, I see so much from Christine, but I never see anything from Tom. Well, maybe Tom doesn't post much. Or maybe you like the things Christine posts and you're commenting on Christine's stuff. Oh, that's so great, oh, so congratulations. But Tom, you don't really like what he's saying because he's always talking about this, that, and the other thing. And so what happens is Facebook algorithms, they actually know this. And the content, if I post a picture that everybody loves and shares, guess what? It shows up in more of my friends' feeds. So let's say, what's your first name? I'm sorry. Joseph. Joseph has 1,000 friends. He's a popular guy, he's got all these friends, and he's posting all this stuff, and people are sharing it. How many of his friends do you think are gonna see his content? Do you think it's 1,000? Because it's probably it's probably more like a quarter of the friends that he has are actually seeing what he's posting. And that's not because Facebook doesn't like Joseph. That's just because they have to make a decision on what's going to show up when you click your newsfeed. And that's how they measure it. They measure it in engagement. So that engagement is measured by likes, shares, and comments. So the more of those things that you get, the more likely your content is going to be seen by a bigger audience. It's kind of a bummer, though, because sometimes you're like, what's wrong with me? Why aren't they sharing all this stuff that I posted, right? So there are ways that Facebook, you can advertise on Facebook, you can boost a post on Facebook, and you could say, I'm going to spend $10 and I want this to go to more of my followers. A lot of people criticize Facebook for this because, gee, they're my followers. Why can't you just show the stuff to my followers like you should be doing? That's just not how it works. So I want to make sure you understand that. The message length is only a day, and what ends up happening is Joseph posts this really important stuff about immunizations on his page. It's important because there's a brand new vaccine coming out, right? And then later in the day, he finds this funny little quote with a dog or whatever, and he posts that, okay? What's gonna happen is that really important message is not likely to be shown as much because he's posted new content. So be careful in the timing of your posts, because that will determine their exposure. Let it sit a little while. Let people engage with it a little while before you kind of hurt it by putting some other content on there. Also, if you post too much, that's another reason why Facebook will probably not show your stuff in the newsfeed all the time. So you want to limit your posts professionally wise to maybe 5 to 7 per week. Okay, we don't want to be like, I actually found that when I posted less, I had more exposure. So don't feel like I have to be putting things like 3 times a day on Facebook. That's not the idea. You know, every other day might be a good thing to do. If you don't work on the weekends, maybe just do 3-4 times a week. And keep them short. Any questions about this? Because I know a lot of people are on Facebook, and this is kind of new to a lot of people in the previous session about the engagement part. This is just learning how what gets shown more often, so I'm going to skip through that. Twitter. How many of you are on Twitter right now? Okay, great. Are you using it for work? Okay. You can do both, you know. So if you have a personal Twitter account, go ahead and send immunization messages. Now, granted, you might want to talk about the game or whatever, but every once in a while, it's not bad to send that message out about what's happening in your professional life. And what I have found with Twitter is I kind of have this love-hate relationship with Twitter. I hate it because I hate doing this all day long. And I talk a lot, as you can tell. So I have a hard time condensing everything into the number of characters that you need. It's a challenge. But what I have found is it really pays off because I'm reaching different people with Twitter than I am with Facebook. I can put my information out on Facebook and I'm kind of waiting for people to come to me. Whereas with Twitter, I say, oh, I want to follow her. She has some good content. Whereas, oh, look what they put out. I love that. And so I can be a little more active in picking who I want to follow. And they don't have to say, well, you don't get to follow me. You know, they can. There is a way you can do that. But most people on Twitter don't. So it's a great way to reach out to the medical community, which I don't, directly, media and journalists, other organizations that are doing similar work, and even people in the public who are passionate about vaccines. I connected with a gentleman who lost his limbs from meningitis, and he wrote a guest blog on our on shot prevention. So these are some best practices. Again, I'm not going to read them all, but just one thing is, again, message life. With Twitter, your message life is brief. We're talking maybe a few hours. That's why it's recommended that you tweet a couple of times in a day. I don't always do that. I'm do as I say, not as I do, but I try to. That's the best, if you really want to build your engagements, that's the best way to do it. You want to use, you're allowed 140 characters, you want to use less. Because if I retweet something that Joseph put out, it puts the RT, that's 2 characters, it puts his whole account name, so that's a bunch of characters there, and so I might want to say something about it, like, check out what Joseph did, this is cool, and then what he said. So keeping it short is important. That's why you want to use links or attach photos, and when you do that, you get, again, more retweets, and when you do that, you want to use a URL shortener, because every character is so precious. So you want to go to, like, there's one called bit.ly, bit.ly, and they will shorten it. Actually, right within Hootsuite is another social media manager where you can manage your accounts and they will shorten your URLs so that you're taking up less characters. Does that make sense? I know that like some people this is kind of just going right over your head because you might not be on Twitter, but I just want to make sure I get some of these things in. When you set up on Twitter, say for the first time, it's important to create like a listening platform. You need to start following people, but you need to kind of, people are not going to follow you if you're not creating content. So following people will help you see in your newsfeed what people are talking about. But then you can also create searches, and searches are done with hashtags. Hashtags are that number sign. So here at the conference, they're using TXIZ14 for Texas Immunization in 2014. So with that hashtag, if I follow, have any of you followed that yet in here? Okay, so you've seen things that I've tweeted, and what'll happen is, so if I tweet something and then you're following the hashtag, you might retweet. You might go, oh yeah, that was cool. I like what you said about that. Or you might say, oh, I didn't know her. Let me follow her because I like that organization she works for, and I might get some good information from them. So that's how it works. You want to be generous with following people. You want to be generous with retweeting content too, because when you retweet my content, guess what? I go, oh, who's that? What does she do? I might want to connect with her. So this is ways that you can really utilize Twitter in a different manner than, say, Facebook. So again, any questions on Twitter? @ShotOfPrev is my Twitter account. Thank you. I'm assuming you're going to follow me. Great. Okay, good. What else? So I've kind of covered that. Then the blog. A lot of people don't have time to be blogging, but blogs are a great way to find out about new content. If you follow Shot of Prevention, you'll hear about the latest immunization news because that's what I write about. So it's a good way to stay informed, to see what people are saying about things so that if you're in a clinical practice and you have to respond, when someone came up to me, I always get the thing about the HPV woman and she doesn't, she developed the vaccine but she doesn't believe in it, and what do I say? Well, this is how you learn. You got that, right? You get that question. So by following social media, you're going to hear those people ask the questions, and then you're going to hear other people respond. So then you can learn ways in which you might want to respond. So that's, again, the benefit there. Also, an important thing to keep in mind is that your website, as I mentioned before, is static, but your content on a blog changes. So if you do a search on why get the Hep B vaccine at birth, guess what's going to probably come up at the top of the search or in the top of the search? It's probably going to be a CDC thing first, but my Shot of Prevention blog post that I wrote in 2010 will probably be in the top 5. It's something people Google, and the content on my blog changes all the time, so it comes up. Okay, if your website doesn't have new content, it's going to get pushed down below all the other. If you're wondering, why does when people put Immunizations Texas, why doesn't our website come up? Well, because there's a lot of other content that's changing every day, and that's what's going to come up above yours. So it's important to, when you get people on your page, that you continue to engage them. Like, I let people know when they land on Shot of Prevention that to follow us on my Twitter account. And there's a little widget that you can plug in for Facebook. So they click that and you go right to the Facebook page. So it's all integrated in this big pie. They're all related. So once you have these pages, the important thing is the content, and content can also be driven by collaborating with other people. So you have content that your organization has created. Maybe it's a newsletter. Maybe it's some videos that you've done. Maybe it's some really pretty PSAs that you put up around the office, something like that. Use those things as your content. Put them out on your own Facebook page. Put them out on Twitter. And do it every so often. Make sure you do it, every other day. Put something of yours up there. But you don't want to solely be pushing just your own material. It's really important. People don't like following people who are too self-serving. So you want to make sure you reference other resources as well. So the CDC has some great resources. CHOP has some wonderful resources. History of vaccines. There's endless resources that you can pull from, and then create some kind of content based on that information that they're already sharing. They want you to do that. That's what the resources are there for, and that's what public health, we're all about sharing. For instance, we have this online and interactive ebook. You could link to the ebook, and then what I've been doing is see those smaller things about measles and pertussis and HPV and flu. We created infographics from that ebook that we've been putting out on our Facebook page. And then collaborating is really important because collaboration exposes you to new audiences. So say you are part of a medical group and maybe there's a specialist who could maybe speak about something or is talking about something, you can reference that. For instance, with shot prevention, I've worked with different doctors. Dr. Zibners is a guest blogger. Dr. Swanson from Seattle Mama Doc posts content on my blog, and then I post on her blog. So some of the people in Seattle go, oh, this is cool. I think I'm going to follow shot prevention. And you know, some of the people on my blog will then follow her. So collaborating is important. If you're not familiar with Shot by Shot, they're a California-based organization working with the California Immunization Coalition, and they have a whole library of stories of people with vaccine-preventable diseases, videos, great content to share. Those are very impactful. People need to see those stories. We put up a story, a family contacted us, their child Brady died of pertussis, and we helped them get some interviews. There was a pertussis outbreak during the time, so they did some local interviews. I wrote a blog post because guess what she did? The way she was telling her family about her dying son was through Facebook. So I took her Facebook content and I just created a blog about it. And I think that's why it was so touching to people, because we can all relate to that. You've seen, I'm sure you know stories of people who are fighting diseases or cancers, and you hear updates through Facebook. So it was just so real. And we shared it with Shot by Shot, and it went viral. They got 1 million hits. It was just like one of those fluke things. And so their story is touching people, and that's where we want you all to share that story too. How are we doing on time? Okay, so if you need, say, an image to create a profile picture, organization called PKids created this little badge, and they want you to use it. It was supposed to be kind of a general icon that everyone could use, very universal, and it kind of shows that we're all working together. And you could use it as a blog badge, you could put it on your Facebook as your profile image if you wanted to. It's just free for you to use. You could just go to pkids.com and download that. And then connecting with families. I don't know if any of you have direct contact with families who've suffered with vaccine-preventable diseases. Luke Duvall was a very healthy student athlete who ended up contracting influenza, was in the hospital for months, almost died. He became a very vocal advocate for Every Child by Two. We've brought him to congressional briefings. We hooked him up with Families Fighting Flu, who created a whole PSA around his story, and also on Shot by Shot. So this is just ways to get that same information out there and make a bigger reach, because you may have a small reach, but if you link in with other organizations that have a different audience, then your message is kind of expanded. So autism, we all know that in the vaccine world, if you say the word autism, you've got immediate attention, and sometimes controversial things are good because it does draw the attention. We try to work with autism advocates such as Allison Singer from the Autism Science Foundation. She created a special webinar based on the CASE method to help people understand how to speak to parents about concerns about autism and just concerns about vaccines in general. We also connected with a very prominent blogger and author, and she writes some guest blogs for us and shares our content on her pages as well. And so even though it's really important to create fresh content, you need to remember that you're always gaining new followers. So you can recycle old stuff. And you're nodding probably because have you seen Penn and Teller? Yeah, it's good, isn't it? So, I mean, it's just like every so often, it's so funny because on our Facebook page, I'll get a message from someone like, you have to see this. And I'm like, oh, it just reminds me, like, it's something I posted, so long ago, but it's new to other people. You're always getting new audience members, so don't be afraid to take old content and recycle it. Also, Z-Dog, have you guys seen his videos? These usually are, I could play these, but we can't do that today. But he's got some great, it's just fun, I hate to say fun, but they're just entertaining ways to talk about immunizations that catch people's attention. So make sure you create content, but don't be afraid to utilize older content. Images and infographics really, I hate to say it, but they do create more interaction. Just search for images or just search infographics, vaccines, you'll get all kinds of different things that you can share. And when you will see a difference from when you post something like this. People are more inclined to share this. It's easy, it has the whole message without much explanation needed, and that's what they're looking for. Something quick and impactful. So look for those or create them yourself. And here's an example of what we did with our Vaccinate Your Baby Facebook. This is CDC data. You probably, how many of you have seen this infographic before? Well, when we shared it, we got over 5,000 people sharing it from our page. Guess what? When they share it from our page, and you may be among them, it usually comes up with being shared from Vaccinate Your Baby. And guess what? That makes more people go, oh, well, what's that page? And then like our page. So this is a way to get out there and get more likes, is by people sharing your content. Also, the more people who share it and like it and comment on it, the bigger portion of that 80,000 followers that we have who are actually going to see it. I might have 5,000 people see one thing I do, and 50,000 see something else. So it's really important to, I'm going to kind of skip through some of these. This is just examples of the infographics. Reputations, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this. They do pretty much only infographics. This is what's really funny though. They are entirely voluntary. These are people from all over the world, a lot of Australians, Europeans, and Americans who are, some of them have medical backgrounds, some of them are just really impassioned parents. And when things start bubbling up in social media, they take it upon themselves to create these images. They work collaboratively. There's a secret Facebook page kind of behind the scenes that I'm a part of, and they create these images. And what's great is they say things maybe we couldn't say. When we speak from an organization point of view, I mentioned this in the previous session, when I watched A Visible Threat and that woman was talking about how polio doesn't exist, I just wanted to be like, oh, I can't believe she's saying that. You know, it's so frustrating. And so then you hear these same things over, like the flu vaccine gives you the flu, like, oh, why do people have to keep saying that, right? But what's great is I'm not gonna say from my professional standpoint on my page, like, you are all idiots. I mean, I can't say that, right? So, but they can, and they do. And so they're a little more snarky, is what we like to call it. They're a little more snarky, which gets people's attention. Sometimes it offends people. That's why I'm not going to put it out on my page. But the fact that it's out there and people are circulating it is actually good for us all, because it's sharing things that maybe we can't necessarily say from our position as a professional. But you know, go to their page and you'll see there's just a lot of content on there. Some a little controversial and some not. So here is an example of billboards. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these billboards, but this is our Vaccinate Your Baby campaign, did some billboards, and they go up all over the country and they change every so often, and we don't always even know where they are. I mean, there's just so many of them all over. And so we decided, and this is really key when you come into social media, you don't want to just talk, like, I feel bad because I'm rushed, so I'm talking at you. But it really needs to be a two-way conversation. I need to hear what you're saying. I need to address what your concerns are. I need to answer your questions. And we have to find a way to do that with our social media, or we're going to turn people off. So with Vaccinate Your Baby, we just said, have you seen this ad? And then we ran this contest. And if people would tell us where they saw the ads, they would get an entry into the contest. And if they took a picture of the ad, they would get 3 entries into the contest. And it was just really cool, because people were like stopping their car on the side of the highway, like taking a picture, you know, and we got to hear all these, oh, I see it every day on my way to work, it's so great, or it's outside my daughter's, you know, school, or whatever. And it was just really nice, because now people were looking for our ad, which is great. They're telling us where it is, so we're getting good information. So it's really all a win-win. But most importantly, we're just engaging with them, and we're asking them to engage with us. So we did this Spook the Flu contest also, and what do parents love to do? They take pictures of their kids, right? And they love to post them everywhere, and that might be why you don't want to see some of those things like, oh my gosh, okay, I see your kid again. But as a mother, I know people like to post pictures of their kids, and so we asked parents to send in photos of their kids and put a little catchy flu-related tagline. So they were totally in charge of creating content. And then what we did is we shared them on our pages, and then whoever got the most likes or shares won the prize. So now they're also telling their friends to come on our page and like it, which was good for us too. But it was just so neat if you can read them. I don't know, they're kind of small. Fairy dust won't keep us healthy, but flu vaccines can. So you see these cute little girls. And the other one is Avengers assemble during flu season, protected with a shield of their flu vaccines. And then the winner was don't let the dark side win, get your flu shot. And so we did them every, we didn't do it every single day, but we did a whole campaign. So once a week we were posting a couple, every other day or something. So it didn't if we were to do it every other day, by the end of the week, people would be like, I don't want to see, I'm going to unlike that page. I'm tired of seeing the kids in the, But that's the thing, you have to balance what you're sending out. And this was just a really great contest that we had fun with. So it really drives to the point that it's all about audience engagement. Sometimes you have to make sure you understand who your audience is, because on Facebook it's different than Twitter. So go into the analytics, find out who you're speaking to, and make sure that you realize that when you're crafting your messages. Now, we share a lot of information with our followers, and we try to do it in different ways. So with Tdap boosters, we might put an infographic, like on the left, that's a CDC infographic. We wrote a blog post about it. We promoted someone else's article on mainstream media about it. So we don't do it every single day the same way, but we're doing it in different ways, the same message. Again, with flu, you don't want to just one time say, go get your flu vaccine, and that's it, okay? We need to keep out there throughout the season. So I created a Friday flu shot series, and I picked different topics each week. Why should pregnant women get flu vaccine? Why do young children need more than one dose? So I just did different ways of addressing flu. Where can you find a flu vaccine? Why can't I find a flu vaccine? All these questions that you can then address with your audience. The other thing that's really important to know is that social media can help you identify people that you want to reach out to who can help advocate on a parent-to-parent level. And that's really important as we see more and more states creating strong immunization policies, okay? Trying to address the high exemption rates. Colorado, Oregon, Washington, California have all done this in the past few years, and we've been able to help with our national reach of identifying people in a certain state who are very passionate, who might want to go and speak to legislators, or who might want to write something or testify, or rally a bunch of other parents to do the same. So this can be done on a local level as well. And probably, do some of your organizations use volunteers? You might have volunteers come, like coalitions are oftentimes, sometimes rely on volunteers. This would be a way to identify people who might want to help. And that's really critical. So, and then here's an interesting thing. This is just an example of how individuals can really turn things on a dime with social media. It's what keeps social media interesting. And has anyone ever heard of Twitter wars? Okay, they're real. Twitter wars are real. And what's great is it just happens. So Jenny McCarthy, you all know who she is, correct? She had put, just being her flaky old self, she put something out there about, what do you look for in your ideal mate? Is anyone familiar with this? Okay, so she just asked, what do you look for? Well, the whole science community was like, oh, you want to know? We'll tell you. So they started responding to her tweets and tagging her in the tweets and saying things, like Seth Nukin wrote, and it's so hard to read these, so I'm going to look if I can read it off of here. It's a little easier. It's not any easier. Someone who vaccinates, but want our kids to survive. Most important trait is, I can't even read that, is for, what's important trait?
Someone who reports that science isn't
some secret malicious crusade to screw us over, and that vaccine saved lives. You know, so these are the kinds of messages people were sending her. And I'm sure she was like, wait, where did that come from? I was thinking tall, dark, handsome, you know. I don't understand why this is coming up. So, you know, and it created images. Here are some, this is the reputations page. They created this. First of all, Jenny, someone who knows that Google is a search engine, not a university. You know, there was also there was actually a petition that was started about this. I mean, it just went on and on. It created kind of a life of its own. And that's the beauty of social media. We can't always control it. That's good and it's bad, but that's what makes it so exciting, is it's kind of very grassroots. And we, of course, want you to be part of the grassroots. There's also times when people inform us of things. So I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Jay Gordon. He's a pediatrician in California. He pretty much advises his patients that there's toxins in vaccines. So he pretty much doesn't feel like there's any need to promote vaccines. In fact, sometimes he says things that are very anti-vaccine. So we got a letter. Actually, someone sent me personally through our Facebook page a direct message that said, hey, I'm a little concerned. I'm a parent. I used to see Dr. Gordon because he's like right down the street from where I live. And you know, before she realized that advice he was giving, she was seeing him. And so she was getting communication from his office during the measles outbreak that basically said measles is not dangerous and it's no risk to a healthy child. And she was kind of offended by that because here they were in the midst of a measles outbreak, and this is the kind of advice he's giving to all his patients. So I wrote a blog post about it, and I suggested this Twitter hashtag. I said, tell Dr. J, you all go tell him and do what we did with Jenny. You know, tell him that there's just no way this is accurate, and provide the information so that people can see that there is a risk to children. And so he was getting kind of a little annoyed because people were tagging him and stuff, and now there's this hashtag, and he kind of came to me and said, make it stop. Like, can we stop now? Can we just, you know, do we have to have this? I was like, hey, I'm not in control of what other people are doing with the information. I'm just giving them the information, you know? So I think that we have ways of, you know, letting people know that what they're doing is not okay with us, and we need to speak out about it, and these are ways that we can with social media. So it's really important to listen, make sure you understand the insights, read the comments, evaluate your statistics. What do people want to hear about? What interests them? If you can identify that, then you can continue to build the engagement. Don't just put it out there and never assess what you're doing. It's really critical to know. And sometimes we flat out ask people, like I had a blog that I asked, what advice would you give your pediatrician about how to talk to vaccine hesitant parents? I was just curious, because everyone criticizes. It's hard to be the doctor knowing which way do I do it, you know? So I was curious what people would say, and we got a response from a parent, a response from a doctor, a response from a nurse, and it was just, it made for a really good forum that hopefully doctors could read and say, well, that's a good point. I never thought of it that way. So it's just really a discussion point. And then we also get questions like this came right on our Vaccinate Your Baby, a direct message, and Tim says, help, some of my otherwise well-educated Facebook friends are passing around this 4-year-old junk about the HPV vaccine. And he links to an article from Raw for Beauty that says the lead vaccine developer comes clean so she can sleep at night. You guys have heard this before, right? So I thought, you know, I could create this big, long document of what I would do, but who am I, right? So I said, we have 80,000 followers that are very well educated on vaccines, and I'm going to actually let them give them some advice. So I actually created a status that said, we need your help. You've heard the old adage, bad news travels faster than good news. Well, we received a request from a gentleman looking for the best response to inaccurate statements regarding the safety of the HPV vaccine. Please help him out and show us what you've got. And we had, you know, people just linking and documents and research and all this. So now it's there, it's permanent. We can go back, we can search it, we can look at it, we can, you know, share it with someone else. So this is really just important to realize that you don't even have to have all the answers. You know, someone else usually does. How much time do I have? 2 minutes. So 2 minutes to tell you, guess what? This is going to take time. you know, it doesn't necessarily cost money, except time is money, we know that. So just be realistic about what you can do. Step in gradually. Just probably the best thing to do with social media is be consistent. There's nothing worse than like posting something and then 2 weeks later posting something else. Just make a commitment to be consistent. If you think you can only do it 3 days a week, just start there. Just start in small increments, and then you will see the need, or you'll see the benefit of what you're doing, and that will drive how much time that you can justify putting into it. So I'm gonna kind of skip through these. It just talks about social media. Does anyone have any questions for me specifically? I know I've, like I said, talked really fast, so I covered a lot of information. The reality is this. Things can get a little ugly, so make sure if you're engaging in social media from your organization that you discuss what will happen if. Consider a comment policy, but change it if you need to. Correct misinformation, but don't do it in an argumentative way. It's really important to realize that people are going to engage with you, but there's a whole majority of people who are not going to say anything, but they're watching. They're reading, they're looking at what you're saying and what you're doing, but they don't actually want to get involved. So you have to realize that they exist as well, and how you conduct yourself is going to be viewed by them as well. And that's why on our Vaccinate Your Baby page, we really refrain from banning people, because that was the biggest complaint we had. When people who defend vaccines go to an anti-vaccine page, immediately banned. Can't comment anymore. So we thought, you know, this is not right. They may think they're right, so let them say it, because we have nothing to hide. We have science behind us. We're going to come back and say, well, you think you're right, but really, this is the accurate information. And so it allows us to do that. If we just ban everything that they say, then we're not addressing the same concerns that other people have. So make sure you take responsibility if you've made a mistake. Again, you're going to make mistakes. We all do, and don't be so hard on yourself. You know, link to other content, credit other people when they need it, and just be consistent, as I said. So we are out of time. But if anyone has any questions, I will be here. And I have the business card.
So the lunch is going to be in the ballroom, and it's a conversational lunch, and